You're journeying with us now through echoes of the heart, where the untold stories of love, loss, and the courageous search for new beginnings come to light. We believe every heart holds a universe of experience, deserving of being heard. Before we step into today's narrative, if you find a piece of your own story reflected here, or simply appreciate these moments of shared humanity, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps these echoes reach further. Now let the world quiet around you. Let us share a story of an unexpected season of life. My name is Eleanor Vance and I am 55 years old. Life, as it often does, has painted a canvas far different from the one I once envisioned as a young woman. My husband, Richard, passed away 3 years ago. He was a man of ambition, an architect who built impressive structures, but often, an emotional distance permeated our own home, his mind more occupied with blueprints and deadlines than with the quiet spaces of our shared life. After he was gone, I imagined my remaining years would be a gentle descent into quietude, tending the rambling garden he designed but rarely sat in, attending subdued family functions out of obligation, and losing myself in the familiar comfort of books each evening. That was the plan, or so I thought. Then, that first summer after the quiet settled too deeply, Liam arrived. Liam is Richard's much younger half-brother, 28 years old, and he carried with him a restless, almost electric energy that I found both intriguing and unsettling. He'd recently shed a life in New York City, a life he only hinted at as chaotic and draining, and was seeking refuge, a sense of peace, he said, in the rambling historic house Richard had left me, nestled in the rolling hills of the Hudson Valley. At first, Liam was a peripheral figure, a ghost in the daylight hours. He kept mostly to himself, taking long solitary walks through the overgrown woods surrounding the property, or found reading on the wide, somewhat neglected porch, often with a furrowed brow as if wrestling with unspoken thoughts. But the house, old and full of creaks and memories, has a way of making people acknowledge each other. Slowly, tentatively, we began to talk. Sometimes it was about trivial things, the stubbornness of a leaky faucet, the beauty of a particular sunset. Other times, unexpectedly, our conversations would drift into deeper waters. Liam had a way of asking questions, simple yet profound, that made me feel perceived, truly seen, in a way I hadn't realized I'd missed so acutely for so many years. It was like a forgotten window being gently nudged open in a dusty room. One sweltering afternoon, I was struggling with a section of collapsed stone wall at the edge of the overgrown rose garden, a task Richard had always meant to address. Liam appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, and without a word offered to help. He worked with a quiet, focused determination, his movements surprisingly sure for someone who'd claimed to be escaping a life of digital chaos. I found myself watching him, and the contrast to Richard was stark. Where Richard had always seemed to be analyzing, critiquing, lost in the abstract, Liam was simply present, grounded. His hands, though uncalloused, knew how to work. As the days unfolded, marked by the slow rhythm of summer in the valley, I found an unexpected anticipation blooming within me for our conversations, for his quiet, unobtrusive company. There was a lightness he brought into the somber quiet of the house, a spark of vitality that felt both foreign and wonderfully, dangerously alluring. It was a sense of possibility, a feeling I thought had been buried with Richard. One humid afternoon, I finally summoned the courage to tackle the attic, a space I'd avoided since Richard's passing. It was a tomb of dusty boxes, forgotten relics, and memories thick as cobwebs. As I was hesitantly prying open a particularly large, leather-bound trunk, Liam's shadow fell across the doorway. "Need a hand with that?" he asked, a hint of a playful smile softening the usual intensity in his eyes. Before I could form a reply, he stepped into the dim light, effortlessly lifting the heavy trunk as if it were filled with nothing more than air. "Careful," I managed, a smile touching my own lips despite myself. "That's probably older than both of us combined." He chuckled, a low, warm sound, setting it down with surprising gentleness. "Then it's a good thing I'm here," he said, his gaze meeting mine for a fleeting, charged moment. Have you ever found an unexpected connection in a place or time you least anticipated? A moment that subtly begins to shift the colors of your world? Share your experiences in the comments below. These stories of quiet awakenings are precious. And if Eleanor's journey is beginning to resonate with you, please do give this video a like. It truly helps our community grow. As we began to sort through the contents of the trunk, old journals, faded linens, a child's forgotten toys, we unearthed a box of photographs from my own youth. Liam picked up a picture of me from my early 20s, a candid shot from a long-ago beach trip, my hair windswept, my smile unburdened. He studied it for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "You were beautiful, Eleanor," he said, his voice soft, almost a whisper. I felt a flush creep up my neck, and I laughed, a self-deprecating sound. "Oh, that was a lifetime ago." "Time doesn't diminish true beauty," he replied, his green eyes, so different from Richard's cool gray ones, holding mine with an unnerving directness. There was something in his gaze, an unspoken acknowledgement, a current of something warm and alive that I hadn't felt directed at me in, well, longer than I cared to admit. I looked away, flustered, my hands automatically reaching for another box. "These are just ghosts," I murmured, more to myself than to him. "Reminders of a life that feels impossibly distant now." "It doesn't have to feel that way," Liam said, his voice still quiet, but now with an undercurrent of conviction. He had moved closer, and the small attic space suddenly felt charged, intimate. His words, simple as they were, hung in the dusty air, and for the first time since Richard's death, a tiny, hesitant seed of possibility took root in the barren landscape of my heart. The possibility of letting someone, truly letting someone in again. That evening, after Liam had gone for one of his long, solitary walks, I sat on the porch, the old wicker chair groaning softly beneath me, watching the sun bleed color across the horizon. When he returned, the crisp evening air had brought a flush to his cheeks, and his eyes seemed darker, more thoughtful than usual. "Are you all right, Eleanor?" he asked, his voice laced with a gentle concern that felt both comforting and unsettling. I nodded, though the truth was a tangled knot I couldn't begin to unravel. "You know," he said, leaning against the porch railing, his silhouette framed by the fading light, "you don't have to navigate all of this alone. Life doesn't just stop because someone we loved is no longer physically here." His words, so simple, yet so profoundly empathetic, resonated deep within me, challenging the narrative of quiet resignation I had been slowly writing for myself. The following days saw a subtle shift. I found myself seeking out his company, inventing small tasks around the house or garden that might require 2 pairs of hands. And he, in turn, seemed to seek out mine. One evening, as we sat on the porch steps, the fireflies beginning their nightly ballet in the twilight, Liam turned to me, his voice barely a murmur. "Eleanor, do you ever think about starting over?" I hesitated, my breath catching. "Starting over?" I echoed, unsure of his meaning, yet undeniably stirred by the question. "Leaving the past respectfully behind," he clarified, his gaze earnest in the dimming light. "Finding something new. Someone new." His question hung in the air, bold and unexpected. I looked away towards the darkened line of trees. I always assumed it was too late for things like that for me. "It's never too late, Eleanor," he replied, his voice quiet but firm. "To choose happiness, to choose life." The true turning point, the moment the unspoken became spoken, arrived on a relentlessly rainy afternoon, the kind that keeps the world at bay and forces introspection. We were indoors, the sound of the storm a constant hum against the old window panes. I was sorting through Richard's vast collection of classical music LPs in the living room, a task I'd been putting off, when Liam joined me. "Need any help deciphering this mountain of vinyl?" he asked, his tone light, yet his eyes held that familiar warmth. "These can probably go into a donation pile," I said, handing him a stack of records Richard hadn't listened to in years. Our hands brushed, a fleeting accidental contact, yet it sent an unexpected jolt, a spark of warmth right through me. He didn't pull away. His fingers lingered for a breath too long. "You're not alone in this, Eleanor," he said, his voice low and steady, his gaze holding mine. And in that moment, with the rain lashing down outside and the scent of old vinyl and dust in the air, something within the carefully constructed walls around my heart seemed to sigh, and then begin to crumble. One crisp autumn morning, the Hudson Valley ablaze with color, Liam and I walked through the woods, the fallen leaves a vibrant carpet crunching underfoot. When we reached a small, sun-dappled clearing overlooking the river, he stopped and turned to me, his expression unusually solemn. "Eleanor," he began, his voice a little hesitant, "I've been doing a lot of thinking." He took a breath. "I don't know where whatever this is between us, leads, but I find myself not wanting to imagine walking this path, or any path, without you beside me." His raw vulnerability stole my breath. Here was this young man so full of life offering a piece of his future to me, a woman who felt her own best years were memories. Finally, I found my voice, though it trembled. "Liam, I don't have any answers. I don't even know if I'm ready to look for them." "That's okay," he said, his voice incredibly soft, reaching out to gently take my hand. His touch was warm, reassuring. "We don't need all the answers right now. We just need to be willing to see what happens." And in that quiet moment, surrounded by the breathtaking, transient beauty of the autumn woods, a profound realization settled over me. Life doesn't always give us neat, predictable narratives. Sometimes it offers us a surprising, unscripted second act, a chance to begin again, even when we thought the story was over. That evening, as we sat together on the porch, wrapped in an old quilt against the autumn chill, watching the sunset paint the sky in fiery hues of orange and crimson, I felt a letting go, a quiet surrender of the grief, the loneliness, the idea that my life was now only about looking backward. Liam looked at me, his eyes reflecting the vibrant sky, and said with a quiet confidence, "I think this, Eleanor, is the beginning of something truly good." And for the first time in what felt like an eternity, looking into his hopeful, earnest face, I allowed myself to believe him. For those who have experienced loss, or who feel that life has passed by certain opportunities, the idea of a new beginning can feel both exhilarating and terrifying. It takes immense courage to open your heart again. Eleanor's journey is one of those quiet acts of courage. As the days turned into weeks, a comfortable, easy rhythm settled between Liam and me. Our lives, once so distinctly separate, began to intertwine in countless small, yet deeply meaningful ways. He took to waking early, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee a gentle invitation to start the day. He always left a steaming mug for me on the rustic kitchen counter. I found myself rediscovering a forgotten joy in cooking, learning his favorite meals, the little quirks of his palate, how he liked a touch of honey in his tea, and an extra dash of pepper on almost everything. These small acts of care, of mutual attention, were like an unspoken language, building a delicate bridge between our two solitudes. One afternoon, as the first true chill of late autumn whispered through the valley, carrying the scent of wood smoke and damp earth, Liam suggested an impromptu drive. Where are we going? I asked, pulling on a warm coat, a sense of adventure stirring within me that I hadn't felt in years. It's a surprise, he replied, a mischievous grin lighting up his face, making him look even younger, yet endearingly so. The countryside, painted in the muted tones of late fall, unfolded before us as we drove, the rolling hills receding into a soft, hazy distance. Eventually, he turned off the main road onto a narrow, almost hidden dirt track that wound its way through a dense pine forest, finally opening onto a secluded, breathtakingly beautiful lake. The water was perfectly still, a flawless mirror reflecting the vast gray expanse of the sky above. The air was crisp, sharp with the clean scent of pine and decaying leaves. I used to come here when I was a kid, Liam said, his voice softer now, imbued with a wistful quality. He had shut off the engine, and the silence of the place was profound, broken only by the distant caw of a crow. Whenever things got too loud, too complicated back home, I'd escape here. This was my sanctuary. He led me to a weathered wooden bench near the water's edge, and we sat together in a comfortable silence, listening to the almost imperceptible lapping of the lake against the shore. Why did you really leave the city, Liam? I asked finally, the question surfacing from a place of genuine curiosity, a desire to understand this man who had so unexpectedly, yet so profoundly entered my life. He hesitated, his gaze fixed on the far horizon, where the water met the sky. I felt lost, he admitted, his voice low. Trapped. Like I was performing a version of a life that someone else had scripted for me. He sighed, a sound that seemed to carry the weight of unspoken burdens. The relentless hours, the constant noise, the profound emptiness beneath all the surface gloss. It all started to suffocate me. He turned to look at me then, his green eyes searching mine. I needed to find something real, Eleanor. Something that genuinely mattered. Impulsively, surprised by my own boldness, I reached out and gently covered his hand with mine. His skin was cool from the autumn air. I think, I said softly, you're beginning to find it now. He turned his hand, his fingers intertwining with mine, his gaze full of an emotion that made my heart ache in a way that was both sweet and poignant. I think I am, Eleanor. With you. That night, back at the house, a warm fire crackled invitingly in the living room hearth, warding off the evening's chill. As we were tidying up after a simple dinner, Liam turned to me, a shy, almost boyish smile on his face. Dance with me, he asked. I laughed, a genuine, uninhibited laugh that felt like a release. Oh, Liam, I haven't truly danced in decades, I confessed, waving a dismissive hand. Neither have I, he admitted, holding out his hand, his eyes sparkling in the firelight. Let's be gloriously terrible at it together. My heart did a little flip. Hesitantly, yet with a thrill of anticipation, I stood and placed my hand in his. As he drew me gently into his arms, the rest of the world, with its complexities and its judgments, seemed to fade into the firelit shadows. We swayed, a little awkwardly at first, to the silent music in our hearts, but soon I found myself laughing again, the sound echoing through the old house, a melody of rediscovered joy. And for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, surrounded by the warmth of the fire and the even greater warmth of his presence, I felt utterly, unequivocally, joyfully alive. This feeling of being cherished, of being seen, this is what it means to be truly home. Winter arrived, blanketing the Hudson Valley in a thick, pristine layer of snow, transforming the landscape into a hushed, magical wonderland. Liam and I fell into a new rhythm, dictated by the season. We spent our days shoveling pathways through the deep drifts, stacking firewood high against the woodshed wall, and savoring the profound, peaceful quiet that only a snow-covered world can offer. There was a deep contentment in these shared, simple tasks, a sense of partnership that felt both new and ancient. On Christmas morning, I woke to the aroma of coffee and cinnamon and found a small, beautifully wrapped package resting on the kitchen table. "What's this?" I asked, picking it up, my heart already warming. Liam leaned against the counter, a sheepish, endearing smile playing on his lips. "Just a little something. Open it and see." Inside, nestled on a bed of soft cotton, was a delicate silver bracelet, adorned with tiny, intricately crafted charms shaped like leaves and acorns. "I saw it in a little artisan shop in town a few weeks ago," he explained, his voice soft. "It reminded me of you, Eleanor. Strong like an oak, deeply grounded, yet always connected to the quiet beauty and resilience of the natural world around you." Tears, unexpected and warm, filled my eyes as I fumbled with the clasp, finally securing the bracelet around my wrist. It felt cool against my skin, a tangible symbol of something I hadn't yet dared to name. "It's exquisite, Liam. Truly beautiful. Thank you." He stepped closer then, his gaze tender, his voice barely above a whisper. "You've given me so much more than I could ever hope to repay, Eleanor," he said. "You've given me a sense of peace. You've given me hope." The space between us seemed to shimmer, to vanish, and for the first time, without reservation, without fear, I allowed myself to truly imagine a future. Not just a future for me, enduring alone, but a future for us. By the time spring arrived, coaxing the dormant world back to vibrant life, the garden surrounding the old house was a riot of color and fragrance, a testament to months of shared work and quiet dreams. Liam and I often worked side by side, planting new seeds, nurturing the tender young plants, our hands in the rich earth, a comfortable silence often falling between us, punctuated by easy laughter. "Do you ever miss the city?" I asked him one sun-drenched afternoon, wiping a smudge of dirt from my cheek. "Do you ever think about going back?" He shook his head without a moment's hesitation, his gaze sweeping over the blooming landscape, then settling on me, warm and unwavering. "Not anymore, Eleanor. Not for a second. Everything I need, everything that truly matters, it's right here." His words, so simple, so certain, filled me with a profound warmth, a sense of security I hadn't known was possible. And in that moment, I realized the depth of my own transformation. For so many years, I had carried the heavy cloak of loneliness and loss, convinced that the best chapters of my life were already written, consigned to the past. But now, standing here in the vibrant sunshine with Liam, this unexpected, wonderful man by my side, I finally saw the truth with startling clarity. Life was not over. Life was still unfolding, still offering new paths, new chances for joy, new beginnings at every unforeseen turn. One warm evening, as the first fireflies of the season began their enchanting, flickering dance in the deepening twilight, Liam took my hand and led me to the edge of the rose garden, now lush and fragrant. "Eleanor," he said, his voice steady but imbued with a deep, resonant emotion that made my heart quicken. "I have something very important to ask you." I felt a tremor of anticipation, a mixture of hope and a familiar, lingering fear, as he reached into his pocket and retrieved a small, dark velvet box. He knelt then, there on the soft grass, amidst the scent of roses and damp earth, and opened the box to reveal a simple, elegant ring that seemed to capture the twilight in its depths. "Marissa," he began, then corrected himself with a soft smile, his green eyes so full of love locking onto mine. "Eleanor. My Eleanor. I know our story didn't begin in the most conventional of ways, and I know our paths to this moment haven't always been easy or clear. But you have shown me what it truly means to live, to find beauty not just in the grand gestures, but in every quiet, shared moment. You've taught me how to breathe again, He paused, his voice thick with emotion. I don't want to walk the rest of this journey, whatever it may hold, without you by my side. Will you marry me? Tears, this time of pure, unadulterated joy, welled in my eyes and streamed down my cheeks as I looked at this incredible man. This gift I never expected, who had so patiently and lovingly coaxed my heart back into the light. Yes, I whispered, my voice trembling yet utterly certain. Oh yes, Liam. Yes. He slipped the ring onto my finger, a perfect fit, and as he rose to pull me into his arms, I felt the last vestiges of the past, the lingering shadows of grief and loneliness, finally completely lift, replaced by the radiant, breathtaking promise of a future filled with love, with laughter, with shared dreams and endless beautiful possibility. The garden around us seemed to hold its breath, then sigh in contentment, a vibrant, blooming testament to new beginnings. And for the first time in so many years, I believed with every fiber of my being in the undeniable, resilient magic of what was still to come. As the sun dipped fully below the horizon, painting the sky in strokes of deep violet and soft rose, Liam and I stood together, hand in hand, our hearts full, ready to embrace whatever beauty, whatever challenges, the future held for us together. Life, in its mysterious wisdom, had granted me a second chance, a precious, unexpected gift, and I was finally wholly joyfully ready to embrace it with open arms. What does a second chance at happiness mean to you? Have you ever found love or a new beginning when you least expected it? Share your stories and reflections in the comments below. Your journey could be a beacon of hope for someone else. Thank you for listening to Echoes of the Heart. If this story of renewal touched your spirit, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update from us. We are grateful for your presence here. Until next time, may you find beauty in unexpected places.